What's up, YouTube? Bay Area Baller back again. I'm joined by my guy, Bryan Eglesia.
What's going
Bryan,
on?
I've followed Bryan on Twitter for a while. He's a great follow on Twitter. Check him out. And then I've been on the
Thank
Krug
you.
show lately doing these post game shows, and Bryan's dropping all this fire in the chat. So I had to reach out to him. I was like, Bryan, dude, come on. Let me get you on my channel one on one so we can talk ball. Thanks for coming on, Bryan. How you doing today?
I'm fantastic, baller. Thanks for having me. Like you said, the Krug Show podcast. I love Larry Kruger. I love listening to you, Dan Cochemilio, Ryan Smith, Big Frank, Size, my guy. I think I first saw you guys on. I want to say it was after the Utah game when Jordan Poole had that abysmal turnover,
At
and
the
it
end
was
of the
like
game,
at the end of the
he's
game, it
had
was
a
like two
couple. He's
seconds
had a
left,
couple
right?
end of the game turnovers where I just want to pull some
But the
hair
one in
out.
Utah, the one in Utah where they basically lost the game and hit, I think it wasn't Clarkson, it was somebody with a dagger three. It's like I remember hopping on that night and just checking out the Krug show, and you guys had so much passion. It was like, whoa, I thought I was pissed. Nah, you guys were pissed. And I just love that passion. I really do.
Hey, glad you enjoyed it. I love to bring it. I love to talk ball, and you have some media experience. Let me
Hmm.
know about that. I think you told me you were writing. So where can people find you writing? And have you
Yeah.
had some experience in radio? Because Kruger keeps calling you 957 Brian. So it's like, give me some background on that.
No, so I worked at 95.7 The Game, the Golden State Warriors flagship radio station. Probably I started about October 2021 when the Giants were all in the 107 season. You know, they played the Dodgers, and I really got my feet wet in the radio industry during that championship run for the Golden State Warriors last year, and it literally just changed my life. I was a producer, I was a board operator, and I was also a content like writer. I have some articles up there, but right now I'm not working in there anymore because life happens and stuff, and I kind of had to move my separate ways and move on. I love my time there. I loved everybody at 95.7 The Game, but right now I'm writing for the Warriors Talk. It's a small independent. It's not small. It's actually got 100,000 followers on
No, I was gonna
Twitter.
say I checked out their Twitter and I was like,
Yeah,
whoa, yeah, they got a
no,
big following.
they have a huge following. I'm grateful. It's a volunteer writing thing, but it's great to just get my writing out there and follow me at B underscore Ecclesia and follow them at the Warriors Talk. We post great content daily. So we're just covering the Warriors right now, and that's what I'm doing, just grinding out. You know what I mean? Just like you. Just like you.
Hey, that's facts. That's facts. I'm glad I can have you on. We'll start out with some Niners and then we'll switch over to some Warriors talk. The first thing I want to ask you, Bryan, excluding Javon Hargrave, which was, the big splash free agent acquisition, what's your next favorite move this offseason that the 49ers have made? And I got off to the side of Bryan. I'm shrinking his screen down, but I got a lot of the transactions. I might be missing something here, but after Javon
I think you got
Hargrave,
everyone.
I tried to get everyone on there, but who do you like next after Javon?
Oh, I've been thinking about this question ever since you asked me a couple of days ago, and this might not be the sexiest position. I'm gonna go with my offensive lineman. I'm gonna go with re-signing Jake Brendel at the center position, and I'm gonna go with re-signing. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, but Feliciano. Is that how
Yeah,
you pronounce it?
yeah,
Is it
Feliciano.
Tom Feliciano? Mike Feliciano? It's
Oh,
I know it's
did I add him in here? John Feliciano.
John
John
Feliciano. My
Feliciano.
bad.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, John. My bad.
yeah. He's
But
he's a veteran. This guy's been around. He started a lot of games.
I think he started like 14 games, if not mistaken, for the New York Giants. Now I'm thinking you might be asking, why is he going with offensive linemen? Well, if you watch Kyle Shanahan's offense, it's a run first offense. So what's the most important position, two positions in a run first offense? The interior offensive line and the running backs. So you're solidifying two interior offensive linemen positions with Feliciano, with Brendel, and you're also have Aaron Banks and Trent Williams. I mean, I love that offensive line. I don't know if they're going to be great like they were last year, because last year, let's be honest, they had a great offensive line. But those are my two favorite picks. And going to the Hargraves pickup was amazing because not
Big time.
only not only did you solidify your strength as a team, like we all know the defensive line is the strength of the 49ers, but you're also diminished the strength of your opposition in the Eagles.
Yeah.
Because right
I mean,
now,
looking at the NFC, it's like the Eagles and Niners clearly are the two top teams. Yeah, keep going.
there's no other teams, in my opinion, that I think could top the Eagles and Niners. Maybe the Cowboys, maybe, but you know what? I think if they really just made a huge splash, and I loved it. They started off free agency on fire, and I can't wait to see what they do next. But going back to your question, it's got to be the offensive line with me because you know what? The main positions in a running offense is the offensive line and the interior guards. Center and guard matchup. They got to be stout, and if you have a stout interior and guard matchup, you're going to be set in Kyle Shanahan's offense.
I like that. You're harping on the O line. Absolutely love the addition.
Position.
Yeah. No, but you got to address it. I mean, the 49ers had how many quarterbacks go down? 3 quarterbacks got injured last year. Let's protect the quarterback position, get some guys who can open up these lanes in the rushing department. And John Feliciano, what I really like about him too is that he's versatile, right? He can play center. He can play guard. Like, that's huge. You need a guy like that.
Yeah.
And Jake Brendel, I love the continuity of him coming back. He's been in the system. He was solid last year, and that was his first year as a starter. So I think he's going to I expect him to take another step and be even better this year.
I completely agree with you. I expect all these players. I expect Aaron Banks to take another major step like he did last year. Remember 2 years ago, we had no idea who this guy was. Like
they were saying he was a bust, Brian. People were saying that Banks was a bust, and obviously in year 2, he proved everybody wrong.
Yeah, he does. And you know what? I can't wait to say the same thing about Colt McKivitz at right tackle. They're like, oh, we have no idea what this guy's capable of. McGlinchey's gone. You know what? I'll be the first to say I was wrong about Mike McGlinchey. I'll be a big man and say, hey, he might not be a great pass blocker, but he was a great run blocker. And in Kyle Shanahan's system, you need great run blockers. And everybody wants to point out the highlights of, oh, Mike McGlinchey getting pancaked or Mike McGlinchey getting thrown to the side by elite defensive linemen. Well, you look at his run game, he's running over the guys. He's running over players, and he's just making their offensive line and running game a lot better than it is.
Yeah. And the bad plays with Mike, it's like it's only 1 or 2 plays a game, but those are the ones that get circulated on Twitter and that everyone wants to talk about. But I agree, Mike, he was a good 49er. I feel like he got overpaid by the Broncos. Russ Wilson,
but
keep your eye on that right side. There might be some pass rushers beating Mike, but
you know what? I know people want to say he got overpaid, but for starting caliber tackles in this league, you're going to have to overpay him. Like he deserved every bit of it. And like you said, Russell Wilson had no protection last year. Why do you think they were awful? They were complete awful last year, and now he has some protection. And now, you know what? He might be able to run. I don't know.
Hey, we're going to find out here soon. Okay, as for me, who's my favorite move after Javon Hargrave? I'm looking at Isaiah Oliver, Brian. I'm looking at Isaiah Oliver because they needed to kind of plug that slot role or get another corner. Isaiah Oliver, he's played outside. He's played the slot. We know Jimmy Ward followed D'Amico to the Houston Texans, and Jimmy Ward's a really good player, played really good in the slot. What I love about Jimmy Ward is just how physical he is. Like, it's almost like Jimmy Ward's like a linebacker in a DB's body, or like playing DB. Like, Jimmy throws his body around, and that's what I'm going to miss about Jimmy Ward. But I'm hearing a lot of the same things about Isaiah Oliver, that he's a willing tackler. He's good in the run defense, which I know the 49ers ask of that slot position. You got to be physical. You got to be able to plug holes in the run game. So Isaiah Oliver.
Well, he said he didn't want to.
Go ahead.
Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to step on you. I didn't mean to step on you. I'm just a little excited.
Not at all.
Didn't he say he didn't want to play nickel or slot? And he's like, Kyle Shanahan forced him to.
He did. Yeah. He went in Shanahan's. The report I read was he went in Shanahan's office and was like, hey, like, I'm ready to go back, ready to go back to play safety. And Shanahan's like, no, like you're our nickel now. Like, do you want to play nickel or do you want to sit on the bench? And at that point, Jimmy's like, hey, okay, I'll play some nickel. But in this offseason, I felt like he kind of gave mixed messages. I thought at one point he said, hey, I'm willing to come back to the Niners and play nickel. But then also he had made it felt like he wanted to go back to safety. So Isaiah Oliver, I think it's a good acquisition to cover that slot role, or whether. And I've also always felt like Diamador Lenore can slide into the slot too. So like if they want to put Oliver outside and shift Demo inside, I feel like that could work too. So I think the signing of Isaiah Oliver just gives them some versatility and some options in the secondary. So I think after the big boy Javon Hargrave, Oliver is the signing I'm most excited about.
No, I love that pick. I really do. I mean, if he can replace what Jimmy Ward brought, like that would be
That'd be
huge
huge.
boost.
Yeah.
Another signing, or another two signings, one
Yeah.
recent and one not so recent. I love the signing of the two defensive ends replacing Ebukam and replacing Menahu with Austin Bryant and Clelin Ferrell. Or Cleveland Ferrell?
Yeah.
Like, you know what's funny? This is a similarity between the Warriors and Niners, that the Warriors can bring in somebody who kind of like a Dante DiVincenzo a little bit. Like, okay, you had a nice career with Milwaukee. You didn't really win a championship because you didn't play. You kind of had like a subpar season with Sacramento, but coming in the Warriors, you're revitalizing your season. That's what I can see with Clelin Ferrell. Like, if he can go to the school of hard knocks with Chris Kocurek and really just work on his game, he could be one of those guys who gets paid major money.
Just
when
like
he
Arden
plays 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm with you there. Clelin Ferrell, top 10 pick, was extremely productive at Clemson. There's a reason why he was a top 10 pick. He's ultra productive. He didn't have he doesn't have the speed measurables, but I'm thinking on base downs, kind of on run downs, you're going to want Ferrell out there. And the thing is can he shift inside on passing downs like an Arden Key did, like a Charles Omenihu did? That's where I think he can give you some value. And that's also another signing. I'm glad you brought up Ferrell, because I am very intrigued about Clelin Ferrell. Excuse me. And then Austin Bryant, the guy who they just signed yesterday. I had never heard of him.
Weren't they teammates at Clemson? I think
yes,
so, right?
I did hear that today. Yeah, these guys were teammates at Clemson, and I had never heard of Austin Bryant. But yesterday, after the Niners signed him, I put up some highlights. I was really impressed with the highlights that I saw. He's only got 5 career sacks, and he's been injury plagued when we're talking about Austin Bryant. But the highlight reel that I saw, like, he had some good pass rushing moves that I feel like could translate, especially with Chris Kocurek coaching him up. Like, Austin Bryant, from what I saw, looks purely like a pass rusher.
Yeah, no, he does. And you know what? The Backyard Blitz has a great comment. Kocurek gets the most out of his talent, and Ferrell and Bryant have a ton of talent and a ton of untapped potential. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to get on the line with Nick Bosa, Javon Hargraves, Eric Armstead, and they're gonna get single coverage, and they're gonna be able to beat their man one-on-one because they're focused on all these other 3 guys who are just beasts. Like, this isn't a signing, but I expect Eric Armstead to have another Pro Bowl season like he did in 2019, because you got Hargraves in the inside, you got Bosa on the outside, and they're gonna get one-on-one coverage. Him and Bryant and Ferrell are going to eat. They're gonna wreak havoc on the quarterback. I really do. I really think they are. It's going to be great.
I love it. Armstead bounce back season. I mean, last year he was pretty good when he was on the field, but he was banged up. He had a couple different injuries that kind of slowed him down. He missed a chunk of the season, but getting Armstead back, at that Pro Bowl level that we saw, when he was next to Buckner, I'm kind of salivating at the mouth at the thought of that.
Yeah, no, me too. Like, I can't wait to see the gold rush back, because, I mean, honestly, I don't want to be I don't want to be that negative person, but in the playoffs, they didn't seem like they had their pass rush. I don't know why. Like it kind of felt like I was
Man,
waiting
it
for
was
them to
like
get
it's
home.
Bosa. It was
It
Bosa,
was
Brian, and then it was like it was Bosa and the guys. Like Omenahu had a really good year, but it was like you're right in the playoffs when you were looking for the D line to just make that play. Well,
they.
I mean,
I'm
NFC Championship game that it's they
Don't
held
even
up
get me
well,
started
but
about
without a
that.
quarterback, yeah,
Don't even get me
that's
started about that.
been
And we'll get into the quarterback situation because I got a couple of scenarios for you that you might be thinking, "Wow, this guy's crazy," but I don't know. But going back to the NFC Championship game, the playoffs, I want to see more from the interior line pass rush, specifically. I want to see more from Kinlaw, man. Like it's been frustrating. It really has because
that's been
what they drafted.
disappointing.
I don't want to call him a bust because he's so young, but it's been so frustrating to see that this guy's like this guy looks like a great defensive lineman without pads on. With pads on, he looks amazing, but I can't trust his 70-year-old knees. Like his
No,
knees are just like like
and that's
it
why they
leaves
went
me
out and
wanting.
got Hargrave, Brian, because they know the
Exactly.
Niners know they can't count on Javon. Last year
No.
felt like they were counting on Javon Kinlaw to get right. Like they were optimistic, but now they're like, hey, we got to cover our butts. Let's go out and get Javon Hargrave. Brian, I
No.
got another
No.
question for you because if you could talk to John Lynch and tell him to make one move, whether it's a free agent signing or hey, draft this guy, what would you tell
I actually talked to John Lynch before. I just passing, be like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" I was like, "Congratulations on the NFC Championship berth." We were passing the hallway. I was at Levi Stadium, no, but
That's cool. That's cool.
I
Hey, one
I've been
time I
thinking,
yelled. I was at Levi Stadium, way on like the upper deck, and I looked out. I don't know what parking lot it was. John Lynch was in the parking lot, and from the
"Oh,
top of the
really?"
stadium, yeah, I yelled like, "What's up, John?" And he actually, him being like that politician, like that political, he looked up and he was just waving, and it was.
No,
So anyway, we had
he,
two different interactions. Your interaction with John Lynch was much cooler, but I yelled at John from like the top deck of Levi Stadium.
no, that's he's a class act. He really is. Like
Yeah.
he looks intimidating because he just looks built. He's a freaking Hall of
Looks
Fame
like he can still
safety. Come
knock
on,
you
man.
out. Well, like
Oh,
knock you out, give you a shoulder to the neck.
you pass him in the hallway, he like gives you a nudge. He's like, "You're out for 2 weeks, man." Like, oh my god. No, but I've been thinking about this question a lot. Like, I got two scenarios for you. You have 11 draft picks. If you're John Lynch, you have 11 draft picks this upcoming season, right?
Yeah.
You have 3 third rounders. You have, let's say, 2 fifth rounders. Oh, you might have 3 fifth rounders. I'm bad at math. Don't
They
get me
they got a
wrong.
bunch of picks. Yeah.
I want to. They have seven or 4 7th round picks, a sixth
You
round
don't
pick.
need all
They have
those. You
a-
don't need 4 7th round picks.
So you're a Niners fan. You're a diehard fan, just like me,
Yeah.
just like the rest of us watching. What does this era of Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, what do they do best while drafting? Mid-round guys. Like
Yeah.
they draft mid-round guys so well. George Kittle, Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, Fred Warner. What do they all have in common? They're mid-round picks.
Yep.
They're 4th, 5th, 6th round picks. And honestly, when it comes to drafting first-round guys, when it comes to drafting second-round guys, yeah, you got the Nick Bosa's, you got the Deebo Samuels, but you also have the Solomon Thomases of the world. You also have the Reuben Fosters of the world, which was you also have the
Man.
Dante Pettis of the world. Like, oh my
Ooh,
God, I can keep going.
man.
I'm getting pissed off thinking about it. But you trade your picks. I think this is really going to happen. I really do. You trade your 7th round picks, maybe 2 of them. You trade maybe a 6th round pick, and you get up to the 5th or 4th round. I don't think you have a 4th round pick. Maybe you get those middle round picks, and you find guys who you know that you can produce and they can produce on the field, just like a George Kittle, just like a Talanoa Hufanga. Because who thought Talanoa Hufanga was going to be an all-pro safety this year? Nobody. I
Not
didn't.
me, not me. I was
Didn't.
hopeful. I was hopeful. He flashed some playmaking ability at USC, but I didn't think he was going to be a Pro Bowler.
You know, no one did. Nobody did. And I was like, remember that Chicago game? And everybody wants to talk about, oh, the monsoon in Chicago. That's why they lost. No, they lost because Talanoa Hufanga blew two coverages to Dante freaking Pettis. Like,
Man, he left him wide open. Oh, yeah,
why?
man.
He's looking
Dante
in the
freaking
backfield too
Pettis
much.
beat us, man.
Like, Justin Fields was great that day because you know why he was great? He had wide open receivers, no one within 25 yards of him. Like, come on. Like,
Coverage
so
bust.
that would be my advice. You trade all you don't need 11 picks in this draft. You don't need 11 guys who you draft. You might need 6 or 7 realistically,
Yeah,
but you
yeah.
don't need 11 picks
No.
in this draft. So trade those 7th round picks, trade a 6th round, maybe even a 5th round to get to the 3rd, 4th, and maybe even 5th round. And you know what? Roll the dice with them and find guys who you really can develop and really can play. Find your next George Kittle. Find your next Talanoa Hufanga. Find your next Trey Greenlaw. Like,
yeah. Well,
that's what
I got the next George Kittle. Let me tell you, because
Ooh.
this is what I'm telling John Lynch. We're talking about if I saw John Lynch and I'm saying, hey, John, you got to make this move. I'm telling him to draft Zach Kuntz, tight end out of Old Dominion. I've done my homework on
I
these
love it.
tight ends. This dude, Zach Kuntz, Brian, he ran the 4.55 at the combine, which actually that's going to shoot him. He ran a 4.55. The dude's 6'6". I want to say he's like 250. Like, he's got a big frame. He's running a blazing speed. And then I put on the tape, and there was only a couple games of Old Dominion I could find on this guy Kuntz, but he's super athletic. He's a good blocker because I feel like a lot of these tight ends, like, yeah, some of these, when I was watching the tape on these tight ends, a lot of them just look like receivers out there, Brian. And then you look at their PFF run blocking grade, and it's like atrocious. It's like, if that's the point, just draft a wide receiver. Like, if you want a
them want
tight
to be
end,
wide receivers. Baller, a lot of them want to be
I
wide receivers.
know.
They don't want to put their
But in
hand in the
Kyle's
dirt.
scheme, we know Kyle's scheme, you got to block, right? It's always been emphasized, whether you're a receiver or a tight end. But I'm looking at this guy, Zach Kuntz, because it looks like he can do everything. And he's got the speed, he's got the size. The tape popped off the screen. So I'm saying, hey, John Lynch, if you're watching this, with one of those 3rd round picks right now, you guys got 3 picks at the end of the 3rd.
3 of them, yeah.
Take a look at my boy Zach Kuntz, because, man, I'm salivating at the mouth at the thought of Zach Kuntz being the tight end 2. Kittle's still really good. I think we know that. But why not have an elite option at that tight end 2 position?
But would he be able to crack the lineup and crack the actual, get some playing time on the field and beat out Ross Dwelly or beat out Charlie Warner? They're still on the team, right?
It's a good question. On the team,
right? Like,
I believe so. Yeah, definitely. Dwelly's back. They just brought him back, and Warner, I believe, has another year. But Warner, I feel like Charlie Warner barely got on the field the second half of the year, so he kind of might be on the outside looking in, like during training camp. If he doesn't show up, Charlie Warner might not be on this team. That's just purely speculation. Especially if they draft a guy, in the 3rd round, like I want him to, John. Zach Kuntz, the guy's a playmaker. Remember what they did with Jordan Reed briefly, where it's like they kind of experimented with bringing in that tight end 2, like, who's a legit pass catching threat. Like, I want him to get back to it.
I think they wanted a pass catching threat because they were unsatisfied with the way Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel were in the receiving game. But now that you have Brandon Ayuk, now that you have Deebo Samuel being legitimate threats at the wideout positions, you don't need another tight end with Kittle, because not only do you have a great 1-2 punch in a receiving core like that, but you also have Christian McCaffrey, who we haven't seen like the last couple of years, and we saw him this year, and he just opened up the offense, and it just looked like everything was flowing so nicely. But I understand you want another pass catcher tight end, but I look at tight ends as Can you put your hand in the dirt and can you block? And because what's Kyle Shanahan's
But
favorite
that's why I
personnel?
want Kuntz though. I think he can do both. Like
He can do both.
I don't want the pure receiving tight end. I don't
Yeah.
think Kyle Shanahan
hmm
wants it either. But that's why I'm kind of more attracted to Kuntz. I think he can do both.
No, I like that. And you know what? That if he can do both, then he's going to get instant playing time. Instant. And it's because we all know Kyle Shanahan's favorite personnel is 21 and 22. He wants to run the ball, what, 40, 400 times a season? What, like 20, 25 plus? Like, if you're not going to be able to block in Kyle Shanahan's system, you're not going to be able to play. It's as simple as that. And if you can play, I can't wait to see him. I'm going to look at tape on him when we get off this because
Yeah.
I honestly haven't heard of him like before
Yeah.
you two brought him up today.
I was going through the list of tight ends, watching film on. When I got to Zach Kuntz, it just popped off the screen. And then the other thing I'm telling John Lynch is, hey, man, I know, you signed a couple defensive ends, Cleveland Farrell, Austin Bryant, but I want that legit speed rusher. I think they need that Leo edge rusher, what they brought D Ford in to be, someone who could bend the corner and kind of make the quarterback step up in the pocket. And now he's stepping up into Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa's bending the other corner. So I'm saying, John, I know Yannick Ngakoue is the hot, sexy name that a lot of Niners fans want. He's got 8 sacks like every year of his career. And I love Yannick. If you can pull that off, a 1-year kind of prove it deal for Yannick Ngakoue, I'd say, John, go get Yannick. I think that'd be aiming a little too high. The 49ers don't have a lot of cap. So I'm looking at a veteran like a Justin Houston or a Melvin Ingram, just like a bona fide professional pass rusher, someone who you can bring in. So I'm saying, John, go get one of those veteran pass rushers to put opposite Nick Bosa.
The Melvin Ingram, Justin Houston, I like the idea. Don't get me wrong. I I just think they're a little bit long in the tooth, just
They
a
are.
little bit.
They are. But that's why I'm hoping you can get them kind of cheap. But I
Yeah,
want another pure pass rusher though. But yeah, keep going. Keep going, Brian.
I think I think what you really want, without saying it, I think you want no Val Ramos, not Frank Clark. I just think he's an interesting name. He really is, but after all his, I mean, there's a reason he
Yeah.
was let go by so many
I don't think
organizations.
I don't think he's the Niners type of player.
No, the Niners, I believe they want Drake Jackson to step up, kind of like that Jonathan Kaminga role with the Warriors. Be like, if they can step up, like, and he can produce, like, he has the talent to bend that edge that you want. He has the speed. He just needs that endurance. And like Kyle Shanahan said, begin later on the season before the playoffs. Drake just doesn't have that endurance. And if he can build up his body and build up his strength to
Yes.
withhold
Yes.
during the NFL season as a sophomore, as in second year, I think he will be a breakout star. I really
Yeah.
do. Because
I
he has
like that.
everything. He has all the intangibles. He
Yeah.
just needs whatever in that mind. He just needs that mindset, and he just needs to get his body right because his body broke down with it later on the season. It really
Yes,
did.
Brian, I'm with you. That's I've been saying Drake Jackson. You know how every year in training camp, there's usually like one player that uh, media members notice, like, hey, this guy's changed his body. He's yoked up now. It's like I feel like I want that to be Drake Jackson. Come back. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
do
he
too.
might have been kind of. I don't know what his weight was. I don't know if what his body fat percentage was or whatnot. But I feel like I want Drake Jackson to get in the best shape of his life and come in and be that guy. Like, hey, Drake's looking different this year because, like you said, he's got the tools, he's got the bend, he's got the acceleration. I think he needs a little more pop, like if he wants to
Yeah.
bull rush somebody, and that's what comes with getting in that weight room. And I think it's going to come. But yeah, I want Drake Jackson to be that guy who people were talking about, like, hey, this guy, he was working over the offseason.
You know what he needs to do? He needs to hang out with Nick Bosa during the offseason.
Yeah,
Whatever he's
yeah,
doing, you
yeah,
spend every waking minute with Nick Bosa. I want Nick Bosa to get tired of you. I don't want Nick Bosa to be like, hey, get off me, man. Hey, like, leave me alone. Like, you need to do whatever you can to hang out with Bosa because that's the body you want Drake Jackson to want.
Yeah.
You want Drake Jackson to have Nick Bosa's thighs. Like, come on. It's crazy. Like, his thighs, like, I don't want to get into like the whole creepiness of, oh, you're but like
No, I mean they're
prioritizing
tree
your body.
trunks, Brian. I mean they're
They're
ginormous.
huge. They're bigger
Yeah.
than my head. Like, it's crazy. Like, if Drake Jackson can spend the offseason with Nick Bosa, I think it's an automatic win for his career. I really do. And you'll see it during training camp if he is actually serious about being a great defensive end and a Pro Bowl defensive end. Because if he wants to, he will use his his body in certain ways that nobody can. Like, he has the potential. And not many people do have the potential to Drake Jackson to bend that corner and have that speed that he does. He just got to hone that craft, and he just has to maintain his body better. Like, he hit that rookie wall. He really did.
Yeah.
What can he do to take that step?
Yeah. Hey, use it as motivation because they weren't dressing him for like the last third or the last quarter of the year. They weren't suiting you up, Drake. So if that doesn't give you that incentive to push you, to motivate you, like, hey, then you're taking it the wrong way because that's what it should do. And I think it will.
It's kind of like the coach's TMP with the Warriors with like Jonathan Kuminga. Like, he took that person. It's like, hey, I'm better than most of these guys out here, and you're DNPing me. That's what Jake Jackson should be going. Like, I'm better than most of these guys. I'm faster, I'm younger, I'm quicker. Why is Shanahan not playing me? Like, he used it as motivation. Exactly, you're right. He needs to use it as motivation and try to get himself better and in the best shape of his life.
Yeah. Love it. Okay. Yeah. Why don't we get to this next Niner topic, and then we're going to touch on some Warriors here. And I want to ask you, right, 49ers, they brought in Sam Darnold. Do they have the best quarterback room? When we're looking top to bottom, do the 49ers have the best quarterback room in the NFL?
You know, that's a great question. It really is. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say they have the best quarterback room in the NFL. Now, we're talking skill-wise, we're talking age, we're talking contract situation. The thing that the 49ers have that most teams in the NFL don't have are not only 2, but 3 quarterbacks that they think can be starters in this league from start to finish and from their contract situation. Not many teams have quarterbacks who they think they can win a Super Bowl with that have their contract situation that makes them flexible to do every other thing.
So you're taking into account the finances too, because it's a dirt cheap quarterback room.
Everybody wants to talk about the performance on the field. You also got to talk about the performance on the paycheck. It's their paycheck and their contract situation is so much better than most of these other teams.
That's why they can spend all this money elsewhere. That's why they have so much talent. They're loaded, right? Everyone talks about the Niners, they're the most talented team. Well, it's in part because of this cheap quarterback room.
It's how do you think they can afford Javon Hargraves at the price they had and make him one of the highest defensive tackles in the league? Because their quarterback situation and the contract situation. Like, I got to shout out Parag Marathe. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, you are.
He is a guru when it comes to contract situations, and he makes team-friendly deals, and he just makes everybody in that room feel like, hey, I know what I'm doing, and makes a team-friendly deals for everybody that he signed, and it makes the team better. You may think, oh, they're underpaying him for his value, but instead, he's working wonders in the contract room and with their contracts. And honestly, just I take everything into account. And Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, and Sam Darnold, their contract situations with their product and their value as players make them the best quarterback room in the NFL. I don't know what other quarterback room is better than them when it comes to the whole situation.
Yeah, I know.
Not just the play on the field.
Funny you ask, because after we were talking about this topic and we're gonna put on the show, I was looking around. The one that seems kind of comparable, maybe it might be better than the Niners. I'm looking at Philly, that other team in the NFC. You got Hurts, and they just signed Marcus Mariota,
But
as a
didn't they
free agent
lose?
acquisition.
Didn't they
They
lose
lost Minshew.
Gardner Minshew?
They lost
Yeah.
Minshew, and they do have their third guy is Ian Book, I don't think he's that good. But, at Notre Dame, he did have some games. He did make some plays. Like, I don't think he's terrible. What I noticed about Book is he holds the ball a long time. But so that was one room where if I was going to push back and say, hey, the Niners room is really talented. Trey Lance, we know about all the tools. He's got every tool in the book. Brock Purdy was good last year. Sam Darnold, former top 10 pick. But Philly's QB room is, with Hurts,
No, you're right.
Mariota,
You're right.
and then Ian Book, I feel like the three of those guys are comparable.
No, you're right. But you know what? When we're getting deep into the weeds. We're talking about our third quarterback situation. I'm going to take Sam Darnold over Ian Book all day, any day. Did you
Me
see
too.
what he
Me
did
too.
when healthy with Carolina last year?
He was winning.
Incredible. He was incredible.
He was winning games.
I remember when we were watching the Seattle game, and it's like, is Carolina seriously about to upset Seattle? Like, everybody was talking about Seattle and San Francisco jockeying for position in the NFC West. It's like Carolina went into Seattle and just stomped them out. Like Sam Darnold, the thing I love about Sam Darnold, not many people will realize, but when you watch him, and by the way, he's going to start like 3 games this year. He's going to start 3 games this year.
I'm taking the under, Brian. I'm taking the under. If Sam Darnold starts 3 games, that means something went wrong.
He might start 3 games this year. That's how much they love this guy. But the thing they love about Sam Darnold is his escapability from the pocket and his moving outside and his just elusiveness. Like, many people think, oh, Sam Darnold, what? He's just a pocket passer. He's just a statue. No,
he likes to get outside. He likes to get out the pocket.
This guy and he can throw on the run. And he may not be the most accurate, but he has a cannon. He has a straight cannon, and I can't wait to see him. I really do.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was a great pickup.
Well, there's a reason why he was a top 5 pick. He's got the tools. I think with Darnold, and I think he started to learn it last year at Carolina, is just take care of the ball. Like, he kind of forced things previously. He has too many interceptions, for when you compare it to the games played, but he's getting better.
Yeah, take care of the ball and get the hell out of the New York Jets organization. Like, geez, oh my God, never want to go back there. Like, there's a reason he was seeing ghosts, because he didn't want to be there. I mean, honestly, you see what Zach Wilson's doing, and he had decent games here and there, but no quarterback on the West Coast will thrive in a New York organization like that. I love Robert Saleh, don't get me wrong. I think what they're doing is great. I think they just traded Elijah Moore, but I love that defense. But
to the Browns, I like Elijah Moore.
I do too. But any quarterback situation with the Jets, it's just going to fail, in my opinion, because they don't have a quarterback-centered coach. Like, they don't have an offensive coach. Like, you need an offensive guy. You need to put offensive weapons around him. And you know what? I'm glad he's out of New York to see kind of what he can do. I love people who have a fresh start. Like, sometimes, players just need a fresh start in the league. And I think this will be a great fresh start.
Look at Geno Smith. They all counted him out. He was done. Screws up.
New York
Jets. Chance to start. Geno Smith was really good last year. Like, he's a good quarterback.
People might bash me for this, but I understand why he was in consideration for the MVP. Like, he led the league in touchdown passes. And that
completion percentage was off the charts.
I'm not going to lie. You saw that game, the wild card game, when he threw that beautiful deep bomb to DK Metcalf. I sat back and was like, oh no.
I know.
This might be trouble. Because I was kind of concerned. Like, I was like, ooh, it might be a tight one. But rest of history, you know how it goes. But it was a beautiful ball, and he made winning plays. He really did.
No, I mean, when you look at the NFC West, obviously, the Niners, they're the most talented. They should win the division. But when I'm looking at all 4 teams, like, who's going to push the Niners, who could contend, I think it's the Seahawks. What do you think? Who's like?
I completely agree with you. I think Arizona.
I mean, Kyler's out at least.
excuse my language, but Arizona needs to get the head out of their ass. Like, honestly, it's like
Yeah.
it's pitiful what they're doing, and now they want
Well,
to
they're trying
trade
to
D
clean it
Hop.
up, right? They fired
Yeah,
Kingsbury. Like they're
that
trying.
was a
I think they
mistake.
know like changes need to happen. And Kyler, I don't
Hiring
know how much of the year he's going to miss, but he's going to miss at least like half the year. What, he tore his ACL? Like that was late in the season.
hiring Cliff Kingsbury was a mistake in the first place. That
Terrible. He couldn't
that
win in
Joker,
college.
no, he couldn't. You had Patrick Mahomes in college, and you couldn't win. Like, what? Why do you think Kyler Murray is going to do anything better? Like, come on, let's be realistic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I think we're going to get a classic. I think we're going to get a classic San Francisco Seattle rivalry again, like we did back in the Harbaugh era with Pete Carroll. We're going to get all that great intense games every single year now. I really do, and I just can't wait. I think those are the teams that I think really have a shot to win the NFC West. I really do. I think,
Absolutely.
and you know what? I can't wait to see it because I know they were intense games, but they were games I lived for as an Irish fan. And NFL lived for those games. Like I want to see those games where Dre Greenlaw hits. Who was a tight end? Um, the 1 yard line.
Yeah. Was it Hollister or no? No, it wasn't
It was
Hollister.
Hollister. That's
Was it
was
Hollister?
it
Yeah.
Greenlaw? It was Greenlaw, right?
Yeah, it was
It was
Greenlaw.
Greenlaw,
Oh
right?
yeah.
The 1 yard
Yeah, the
line.
big tackle.
Like
Yep.
the big time hit. Like just like we lived for those moments, and we're gonna get a lot more of those moments because you know what? Seattle's on the come up. They really are. They're going to be a lot better than they were last year. I guarantee you.
No doubt. Hey, NFL, I can't wait for the season to get here. But what's so great about the NFL, it's like all off season, there's just content coming out, signings, draft. That's why the NFL is king. But we're going to transition over to some Dubs talk, Brian, because I know you watch the Warriors with a magnifying glass, analyzing everything that's going on. So let's get into some Dubs talk. Let's see, what's my first question here? Oh, I wanna just do some Warriors player performance analysis. And what that means, Brian, is I'm just gonna say a player's name and we can go back and forth. Like how has this player been this season in your opinion? And going forward, like what does he need to do to improve or just whatever comes to mind. And why don't we start off with probably the most, what's the adjective for it?
Polarizing.
Polarizing. Yes. Why don't we start with the most polarizing player? And that's going to be Jordan Poole. You see everything just all over, Brian. When I say Jordan Poole, what comes to mind?
Oh, Jordan Poole. I
I
can't
know,
put it
right?
into one
I
word.
know, right? It's so true.
When I see Jordan Poole, I think of the first word that comes to mind is misunderstood.
Oh,
That's
I
what
didn't think you were going there. Please expand.
misunderstood because I think what Jordan Poole wants, he wants to be that guy. He wants to be the number one on the team, right? He got paid, not right now, but it's kicking over next year. What, you getting paid $4 million this year?
He's
Getting paid $32
He's
million.
getting paid too much next year. I'll tell you that. A little too much.
He got broken off. But he's misunderstood. Yeah. Like Lucas says, that money. Like
This is Jordan
I
Poole.
love
This is
it.
what he's doing in his room, right? He's just chilling back, and he's just got money.
He said money
just
time
falling
for a
over.
reason.
Yeah.
Money time for a reason during the finals. But he's misunderstood, and he wants to be that one. But the Warriors don't need him to be that one because they got that guy, Steph Curry. They got him. They need him to play his part. And he just doesn't know his part because they have every single night. It's a different thing. It's okay, be the one night against Utah, or be the bench player who comes off the bench for the sixth man and tries to be a facilitator in the second unit. Like it's confusing, and it's confusing for me what he wants, and I know it's confusing for him because the coaching staff has different expectations for him every single night. And I know it's in his head. Like some nights he scores 35 a night. Some nights he only scores 5 points. He doesn't know what's going on because he doesn't have a clear idea of what the coaching staff wants on a daily basis.
You said it right there
He's
for me.
misunderstood.
You said it right there for me, and you went with misunderstood. I'm going with inconsistent because it's just like
Yeah,
one game, or it's not even game to game, Brian. Sometimes it's play to play. Like he'll make a play that gets me out of my chair, and I stand up and it's like,
yeah.
holy cow, like that was spectacular. Like that move he had yesterday, he's dribbling, spin move into the layup, like it just looks nasty. And I'm like, okay, JP, that's big time. And then he has these
The
plays,
movie,
Brian. He has these plays, so he has these great plays, and then he makes me plays that make me just rip my hair out. And I'm saying, Jordan, what the hell are you doing? That was an atrocious turnover. That was a terrible shot. So with me, it's the inconsistency with Jordan Poole, and it's game to game, but it's also like play to play.
it's inconsistencies, it's boneheaded mistakes, and it's during the most inopportune times. We're talking crunch
Yeah,
time of fourth quarter games. He's making
yeah.
silly mistakes, behind the back passes, no look passes that have no chance of being completed, and he's taking like 35-foot shots when Steph's wide open, clapping at him, and he's getting
Wow.
mouthpieces thrown at him. He's getting punched before. Like it's frustrating. It really is. But that's what happens when you have young players like Jordan Poole
Yeah.
who are superstars in the making. Like he can be a superstar if he wants to. He just got to get his mind
I mean,
right.
sometimes it
But
looks like Steph, right, Brian? Like to be honest, like
yeah,
he does some shit that makes me say that looks like a Steph Curry move, but it's Jordan
we all
Poole.
we all saw the half court shot in the finals against Boston. I want to say game four, game
Yeah,
three, maybe game two. No, it was one of those games where
yeah,
it was a half court buzzer beater shot and the half, and it was like this guy's this guy's trying to be like Stephen.
yeah.
A
He's
little bit
special.
inside me thinks like he's special, but he needs to get it up there. It's all
Sometimes I
in
say,
between the ears.
Jordan, do less, right? Sometimes he's trying to
Yes,
do a little too much. It's like let the game come to you, play a little more in control. Sometimes he's forcing it, right? It's like Jordan, slow it down a little bit because
yes,
he's got all the moves and he's got the handle, but it's like, dude, you're trying to move too fast for your own good.
yes.
Just slow it down, let the game come to you, and I think things would just work out better.
I completely agree with you. You watch college basketball. There's a March Madness happening right now as we speak.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
great John Wooden quote. Excuse me. Be quick, but don't hurry. Like
There it
Jordan Poole
is.
just needs to live his life by that. Like be quick, but don't hurry. You're trying to do too much. I know you're faster than all these other people. I know you're the quickest guard in the league. You're up there with De'Aaron Fox, but you can literally just slow it down a little bit, and you literally can go by anybody if you just slow it down and be quick, but don't hurry, Jordan.
Yeah.
He's so
I'm with
frustrating.
you there.
It really
I'm
is,
with you
but
there. I'm gonna throw another name at you, Brian. Um, and it's
okay,
someone
shoot.
who, and I'm talking on the court, okay? Because this guy, if you talk about him on Twitter, your mentions will blow up, and a lot of it's negative. Like it's a lot of it's off the court. I don't know what happened off the court, but I'm talking about on the court. I've been on the Krug show, and I'm an Anthony Lamb defender. I think he's pretty good. Like for who they have, like I would rather have him out there than Moses Moody, to be honest. So I'm gonna throw Anthony Lamb out there, and I want to hear as the Anthony Lamb defender because no one else likes him on the Krug show. I feel like when I'm talking to Larry and Size hopping and Size the number one, Size does not like Anthony Lamb. But what do you when I say Anthony Lamb? What do you say?
Anthony Lamb he's unique, you know what I mean? He's I feel if I can sum up one word for Anthony Lamb, it's trusted. Like he is a trusted guy by Steve Kerr. Everybody wants to say, why is Steve Kerr playing him? Like Moses Mooney's way much better. He's more athletic. Moses Mooney was the a lottery pick, a first round pick. It's like, well, there's a reason why Steve Kerr's playing Anthony Lamb over these guys because he trusts him, because he's a 4-year college player. He makes the right play. He's not going to make any boneheaded plays. And honestly, he's not the best player. Yeah, I understand that. But he's not horrible. I completely agree with you, Baller. He's not a horrible player. Like everybody said, oh, Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome, they're horrible. Get them off their team. No, they're actually helped them win. And they've made winning plays on the court to help them win big games. And you know what you're going to get with Anthony Lamb. You're going to get a solid defender who can shoot the three ball and won't go one-on-one with somebody, try to do too much, like a la Jordan Poole.
Yeah.
And
he knows his role. He plays his role well. And he's been attacking the glass perfectly. Too. You know, it feels like who attacks the glass on the Warriors? Dante DiVincenzo. I love Dante. It's like anytime a shot goes up.
DiVincenzo.
Every time a shot goes up,
you gotta have that restaurant quality.
You can count on DiVincenzo crashing the glass. And to be honest, Brian, in the in the basketball I played in the day, that's how I played. I loved attacking the glass. That's what I did. So it's like
now I gotta ask. What's your game like? Gotta ask you. What's your game like?
One of my buddies said he gave me an NBA player comp. He compared me to Brian Cardinal. Okay, what was his nickname? It was something freaking weird. I gotta look it up now. The Brian Cardinal nickname. The custodian. Bryan Cardinal. This is the hustle player. That's what I did. So I love players who attack the glass like Dante DiVincenzo. And what I was getting at is I feel like Anthony Lamb's been kind of bringing that element to his game lately, hitting the boards.
You're exactly right. Exactly right. I mean, the more aggressive these guys are, the better. Because not only are you creating opportunities, because honestly, the rim protection in this league has been diminished.
It's on a decline. Yeah, there's little to no rim protection on a lot of these teams for most of the game.
Like you watched last night against Dallas, like one of the biggest plays of the game in the fourth quarter when Steph Curry got a free layup and there was nobody protecting him. What's Luka Doncic going to block his shot? No way.
No
way. The rim protection in this league, especially with playoff teams, has been, like you said, going down. It's diminishing, and you can get to the glass so easily. If you just have that will, and if you just want to attack the glass, it honestly comes down to effort. It really does.
Yeah. And the last thoughts on Lamb is, for him to be useful, in my opinion, he's got to stretch the floor. He's got to hit that 3-point shot at a solid clip. I feel like it's been up and down. Like he started out the year pretty well from 3, and then he kind of cooled off. Felt like they were kind of tinkering with his games, right? Because he had hit that limit of games played on the 2-way deal. Then he's going to Santa Cruz and he's coming. So they were kind of messing with him. Not that I want to give excuses for him, but he wasn't getting that consistent playing time. Now he's back into that role. I want that 3-point shot to become more consistent because that's something that he's got to hit those open threes. Like I like what he does. Like he's solid everywhere on defense. He's a good passer. He rebounds. But what they need is for him to. He's got that kind of funky kind of shot, but it goes in. I think it's not a bad shot, but he's got to hit it at at least 35 to 40% would be ideal.
You hit the nail on the head right there with him and with Moses Moody. For them to get playing time, they have to hit their open threes, specifically the corner three. What's the easiest shot in the NBA? The corner three.
The corner three. It's the shortest one.
The shortest one. It's the shortest 3-pointer, but it's also the easiest. And you know what? When you're playing with superstars like Steph Curry, when you're playing with stars like Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, you're going to get open looks. You got to hit these open looks if you want playing time. You got to hit them consistently. Because honestly, that's, in my opinion, how the season ends is how they will be able to hit their open shots because they will get a ton of open looks. If they hit their open shots, I have a feeling that they're going to go back and playing in June. If they don't hit their wide open shots, we're talking about like these role players, like not
Yeah.
Steph, not Clay, not Wiggins,
No.
because they're
You're
going to have their
talking
shot.
JaMychal Green and
JaMychal
Anthony
Green,
Lamb, Dante
Anthony Lamb,
DiVincenzo. Those are the
GP2's
guys they're
coming
going to have
back.
to show up. They need those guys because we don't know.
Yeah.
Let's say it. Let's say it, Brian. Let's put it out. We don't know if Wiggins is coming back or not. We don't know.
Hey, I I will follow Steve Kerr into battle anytime. I think he's one of the most knowledgeable people in the NBA. When you have 10% of the all-time rings, like how many rings does this guy have? A coach and a
Oh,
player? Like
yeah.
when you have that many rings, when you played with Michael, when you've coached, when you've played with Tim Duncan,
Yeah.
I'm referring
Yeah.
to. When you played with Manu Ginobili, when you were a player under Popovich, when you were a player under Phil Jackson, you have so much knowledge that I'm just gonna listen to him and I'm just gonna be on my seat every time he talks because he's just so knowledgeable and I'm gonna trust him when he says that he's hopeful that Wiggins comes back. He said this, I want to say like 2, 3 days ago. Like we're hopeful that Wiggins is coming back. So that just means if you're even talking about Wiggins, if you're not just saying, oh, we have really no idea. When you're saying they're hopeful, that comes in my mind like, okay, he might be coming back soon.
Yeah.
I don't know when, but he
No.
might be coming back if people are hopeful. If the head coach is saying, yeah, we're hopeful about him coming back soon, that's a good sign. Like
Yeah.
he might be coming back. I don't know if it's like 5 games. It's probably not this homestand, but I could see him coming back soon. No
Hey,
sources, no
I
nothing.
appreciate the optimism. I appreciate it because I needed it because for some reason started out optimistic. I don't know. Lately, I've kind of been weighing the other way where it's like, hey, maybe you start planning for postseason without Andrew. But it sounds
You
like
got
we got good news on this front, Brian. GP2 potentially. I'm hearing maybe even as soon as Sunday. But
yeah,
Gary Payton is on the mend. And that's going to be crucial because I know for a fact you've talked about it in the comments on the Krug show. The defense has been atrocious this year. It's like consistently, it's like they're giving up 130. Like it feels like every other game. It's, the defense has been bad. Gary Payton, Brian, what I saw last year from Gary Payton, it might have been it might have been the best on ball defense I've ever seen in the NBA. I mean, this dude was picking other professional point guards' pockets like they had never played the game before. Like Gary Payton is just on another level defensively,
love.
and the Warriors need it.
Young glove, baby. I absolutely love Gary Payton. And everybody was like, oh, why'd you trade James Wiseman to get Gary Payton? I'm thinking, why not? Do you look at the perimeter defense? This guy I know he's 7'1", and he's supposed to be the next Oscar Robinson or next Kevin Garnett. Couldn't play defense. He's a liability.
No,
And
they
you
were
bring
picking
one of
on
your
him. Teams
best
were picking on
defenders.
James Wiseman. Yeah.
And you know what? I hope James Wiseman has a great NBA career. I hope he's an all-star. But people have to realize, I'm going off on a Wiseman tangent, but I'll go back to Gary Payton.
No, please, whatever you want, B.
My guy, appreciate you. Baller, we got to do this more often. But people need to realize they traded James Wiseman not for his offensive ability. Yeah, he can score with the best of them. He can score. But he's a liability on defense. And he's not playing the way they want him to play. They want him to play like Kevon Looney, but he doesn't want to. They want him to play inside out, but he wanted to play outside in. I'm going to be completely honest, he wanted to be a splash brother. And you know what? He's not ready. So
Oh, you're
he's
right.
not ready for big.
You're right,
He's
Brian.
not ready
And you
for
know what?
big.
That's where Penny Hardaway did him a disservice. Penny Hardaway, it was almost like in the draft process and the lead up to the draft, I heard Penny like boasting because he coached him in AAU. He coached him at Memphis briefly, but he coached him in AAU, like throughout high school. And Penny kept saying, oh, I trained James Wiseman like a guard. We're working. He's got guard skills.
7-1.
Well, Penny, let me tell you something. You did him a disservice because the guy sets terrible screens. He doesn't attack the glass. When a shot goes up, Brian, I'm watching when Wiseman's in the game. I bought a Wiseman jersey because I thought he had so much potential. Okay. But when a shot goes up, my mindset and what I want from my bigs, shot goes up, attack the glass. Okay. You want to know what Wiseman was doing? And actually, I had to record it a couple times. Shot goes up, he's going back in transition. He's going the other way, Bryan. Like, he just wasn't wired the way I want my bigs, just the way I want my guys like Dante. We were talking about Dante's shot goes up, I'm attacking the glass. Wiseman doesn't have that.
You said something about wired. The way he was wired, it's not the way you want your big man to be wired in the NBA.
No.
Sometimes you're wired like one. Sometimes, I'm just going to be honest. Sometimes you got it. Sometimes you don't. And maybe James Wiseman has it. But when we saw him for the 60 games, it didn't seem like he had it. Like, I'm a big body language guy. Like, I know I'm just sitting on my couch watching TV, watching the game, just like the rest of you
He had bad body
your
language.
805. Like,
Yeah.
it's horrible. Like, his body language was atrocious. I equate. Cheers, my brother.
Cheers, brother.
I equated to the body language of Brandon Bell. Like, when Brandon Bell would strike out, if you're a Giants fan, he would slump his shoulders. Like, if James Wiseman didn't hit a shot,
right.
You're right. Slump his shoulders.
If he didn't get the ball in the post, if they didn't throw it to him and he thought he had position, like he's not getting back with the same kind of energy. Yeah.
Countless times I've seen Ty Jerome on the left wing and James Wiseman was posting up. He's like, he sealed off his man. And Ty Jerome's like, I'm going to pass over here. Like, you know.
Yeah, I've seen that too. Hey, like, Bryan, I got one last topic because I don't want to keep you too long. We already hit over the hour mark.
I can go if you want to go. Like, I can go longer if you want to go. Like,
hey, you know what? The only 2.5 hour shows I do are with Krug. Other than that, I try to keep it around an hour.
You gotta tell Krug to get me on his show. Like, I'm trying to get on that show, and you got put in a good word for me.
I think I can swing that. Yeah, I'll let him know. Hey, I have Bryan on, man. He knows his stuff, and he knows that because he's always pulling up your comments in the chat.
I've worked with Larry before. I've sent him a text, but I think we're gonna be on Locked On Warriors one of these days too. So
I heard Cy brought that up. I'm
trying to get on too.
You're going on Locked On. I'm gonna get Cy. I've talked to Cy. I'm gonna get Cy over here too on my channel because Cy's
a good guy.
He's got. Although me and Cy, dude, there might be some fireworks going off. When that trade happened, Kruger went live when the Wiseman GP2 trade went down. That was the first time you saw me and Cy, dude. We were butting heads because what did I say? Oh, I was going off on the front office because they whiffed on the Wiseman pick, and Cy didn't like that. So that's where me and Cy were. Go ahead.
Can we talk about the front office real quick? Like,
I would love to.
Are you nervous? Because I might be nervous.
Bob
Myers doesn't have a contract after this season.
I know. It's weird. Yeah, it's weird. What's going on there?
Should we be worried? Like, it's just like ho hum. Like, is Bob Myers a lame duck? Is he a lame duck right now? I don't know. Should Warriors fans be worried about Bob Myers not having a contract situation and not having a contract next year? Should they? I don't know.
I think so. I mean, the dude's brought us 4 rings that, I mean, growing up, Bryan, I think we grew up around the same era. The Warriors growing up were a disaster up until, we believe. And now we get these 4 chips. It's like, dude, don't let Bob Myers get away. He just helped us celebrate so many good moments with our friends, watching all these big games. He's acquired good talent. He's made some good draft picks. Yeah, has he whiffed on a pick or two? Yeah, it happens. All right, Jacob Evans, it didn't work out. But John Lynch, Solomon Thomas, nobody hits on every pick. But
for every Jacob Evans, you get a Kevon Looney, you get a Jonathan Kuminga, you get a Jordan Poole.
Yeah.
Sometimes you miss, sometimes you hit. Draft
Absolutely. Again. So, yeah, it's weird. It's weird what's going on there because you feel like Joe Lacob would just open up the checkbook and kind of write a blank check. Maybe that's not what's going on. Maybe Bob Myers, I mean, we don't know. Does he feel like he's kind of capped out or does he need a break? Who knows what's going on? But in my opinion, absolutely, I want Bob Myers back.
Of course, if you're a Warriors fan, you see this friend like, yeah, I want Bob Myers back, and I don't want to know, like, people are bashing Bob Myers. Like, why are you bashing him? He is a great general manager, great president of basketball operations.
He's a great
We
human
wouldn't
being
have
too.
great human being in general. We wouldn't have these 4 rings as fans. The Warriors would not have their 4 rings without Bob Myers. Like simple, plain and simple.
Yeah.
Any other GM, not happening. I really think that Bob Myers wants to be the highest paid GM, and it's kind of it doesn't seem like that's his MO. Like if you talk to him and you listen to him, it seems like he's so down to earth, and it seems like money doesn't matter to him. Like you remember him crying in the press conference when KD tore his ACL or tore his Achilles, had
Yeah.
that leg injury in Toronto. Like he was bawling. He was in tears because
Yeah.
not only did it hurt his chances of winning, but it hurt his professional relationship, and the relationship he had with Kevin Durant was more than just basketball, and it hurt. With Bob Myers, it's more than basketball, and those are great people. When people are obsessed with basketball, but they also are great human beings in general, like they care about the person. Those are
Mhm.
people who I want to keep in my organization. And honestly, if I'm Joe Lacob,
Yeah.
give him a blank check, write him
Yeah.
whatever he wants. And that might not be enough. You're right. He might say, "Hey, I might be done. Like, it's been a great run, but I might want to do something else, or I might be
Mhm.
tired." I hope that's not the case, because we as sports fans, we want our coaches, we want our GMs to, if they're winning, we want them to be there forever. We want them to be Popovich. We want Kerr to stay around forever. But I don't know. I don't know what's going through his head. I really don't. I just hope they keep him. I really do.
Me too. Me too, Brian. I got one more question for you, and we'll wrap it up on this one. Um, I want to hear who you think are the top 5 teams in the West. Whether you want to start 1 through 5 or 5 through 1, that's up to you. We're talking about what 5 teams in the West you think got the best chance at winning an NBA championship.
Okay. I'll go 1 through 5. Yeah, but
Okay.
I no, not in. Yeah, I'll go 1 through 5 in order.
Yeah.
I got to put Denver up there. Jokic,
Okay.
he's been playing amazing.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about Joel Embiid for the MVP. He might win his 3rd MVP in a row. Like that's how crazy it is. And when you think of like, really, Nikola Jokic, 3rd MVP, he is an amazing player. And you look at his body, he's like, well, he doesn't look that athletic, but when you see him on the court, he's like, whoa, like he's
He's got
amazing.
6 eyes, Brian. He's got like 6 eyes all around his head. He knows where all 10 players are at on the court. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So I just think Denver's home court, the altitude, them getting Jamal Murray back, them we talked about before
They got
in the
your
green room.
boy. Your
My boy,
boy.
Aaron Gordon, AG baby. I think
Gordon.
he's having
We
I
talked
think he's
about some Aaron Gordon. He's been, and what I love about what the Nuggets are doing with him, they got him feasting on the inside, right? Using his athleticism. Sometimes in the past, it's like maybe Gordon was getting a little too perimeter oriented, but now he's living in the post or throwing him these alley-oops. He's living around the rim, and I think that's good news for Aaron and the Nuggets.
if we talked about Jonathan Kuminga, if Jonathan Kuminga can have the type of career Aaron Gordon can have, I think the Dubs would take that in a heartbeat. I know everybody's saying Kawhi Leonard and stuff. Just be right now. Try to be what Aaron Gordon could be for Denver, because he is a tremendous player, and they got not Jermichael Green, no, Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
and they got, who's the guard I'm thinking of? The guard who was out last year,
Jamal Murray.
Jamal Murray. That's who I was thinking, not Jermichael
Yes.
Green. You got a bunch of guys who
Yeah.
know how to play basketball really well and play to their strengths. And I just think they're the team to beat in the West. I really do. They're the number 1 seed. Of course, they're the team to beat in the West. But I got to
I'm
go
with you there.
Denver.
I'm with you there. Well, yeah, let's do. Yeah, I like you go 1. I'll go 1 because I also have the Nuggets at 1. So both of us have the Nuggets kind of as the favorite, right, in the West. They've been playing really good ball all season. They're at the top of the Western Conference standings. They got the back-to-back MVP. Like there's a lot of things to like about the Nuggets. They got a good coach. So
Mike Malone.
I got the Nuggets 1. So after Denver, who you got it to? Who's that next team?
Now, Now, if everybody's healthy, I'm gonna go with Phoenix. I really am. If
Well,
everybody's
yeah.
healthy, I'm gonna go with the Phoenix Suns
Damn. Yeah,
because we haven't
yeah.
seen this team play with Kevin Durant for that long. But when we had, I know they played a bunch of bottom feeder teams. I think they played Charlotte the first game,
Looked pretty
but
good.
they played Dallas. I mean, they
Yeah.
look pretty good in Dallas too. But I just think that they might be a team to beat in the West, and they're going to be reckoned with if they get Kevin Durant back. I love Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton. I'm kind of sad to see Michael Bridges go and Jay Crowder, but that's the price of business. Excuse me, price of business that you do when you have to get a superstar like Kevin Durant. So yeah, Phoenix is second if everybody's healthy.
Dang. You know what? I was looking at the standings and just the fact that they're a little ways down at that 4 seed. But
Yeah,
it's
but
like
they're
after
playing
what you
without
just
Kevin
said, you
Durant.
just convinced me, Brian. Like I can't argue against what you just said. They acquired Kevin Durant, they got Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton. They do feel top heavy, but uh I think you just rearranged my rankings for me. Like, yeah, the Suns deserve to be number two because it's like we expect Durant to come back from his injury. What does he have right now? Do you know? What is he banged up? Is it knee?
I I think it was the same thing. I think it was an ankle. I think it was the same thing that Jonathan
Oh,
Kuminga did in
yes, it was
Oklahoma.
the ankle, the pregame ankle. Yes, that's what
Nobody
it
was
is.
around. He just slipped, and you know what? It happens. It happens on the basketball
Yeah.
court.
Okay. Okay, three. Let me go three because I keep copying you. I took you. You convinced me. The third team. All right, Brian. Here's where things get hot. I'm going with the Golden State Warriors. Okay, I'm going with the Golden State Warriors as that third team because yeah, it's like the Nuggets, the Suns. I could see them with more of a championship title chance. But
Hmm.
after that third team, like I'm looking at the other teams in the West, I'm not putting the Grizz or the Kings above the Golden State Warriors
No,
with all
no,
this
you're not.
championship experience. And now I have to say that's predicated. There's like an asterisk there. You need Wiggins, right? I'm anticipating, like you said, that I'm hopeful. Hopeful Wiggins is going to be back. GP2. I think that right there is enough to vault them into like that third team with the third best chance to win or at least come out the West.
Yeah, no. It's, and now I'm copying you. I was gonna go. I gotta go with
I
the
like
Golden
it
State
better
Warriors.
that way. I couldn't let you go first that time.
Yeah. No, it's everything you said was on point. And I actually wrote an article for the Warriors Talk uh, about a week ago. Uh, are is this Warriors roster enough for like right now? I had just to get you into behind the scenes. I was thinking about it, and without Wiggins and without GP2, it's not going to be enough. I could see a possibility of with GP2 maybe, but I still don't think with GP2 it's enough. You hit it on the head. They got to get Wiggins back. If they
Yeah,
get Wiggins back, I really think they have a great chance to run and make a title defense. I really do. Make a deep run in the playoffs. But they got to get Wiggins back. I completely agree. I completely 100% agree. But isn't this the same thing we saw last year? They had everybody not healthy,
it
and
is.
then
Yeah.
at
They
the
were
at
talking
the
about how
it's
Steph, Clay, Draymond, like they had only played whatever it was, X amount of minutes together. Like it wasn't
like
games, it
what
was like
11 minutes,
minutes. Yeah.
11 minutes I think together as a whole, and they just said, all right, we'll wait to the playoffs and boom, we'll see how it goes from there. But I completely agree with you. I really do. Like if they get Wiggins back, I think it's a whole different story. But they got to get Wiggins back. They have
Yeah.
to. It's a must.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Okay, now this is where things get a little bit tricky for me. Who's that fourth team after the Warriors? Where's my standings? Okay, right here. Okay, yeah, the Kings, the Grizz. Well, I'm going Memphis. Going Memphis. Sorry, Sacramento area, but I'm rolling with Memphis. I think Ja's playing tomorrow, if I read correctly. I think Ja's coming back tomorrow. And
I think he played last night actually.
oh, did he? Okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
I think
so
Ja.
Ja, I remember
Hold on one
reading like he
second.
was coming back or it was happening here really soon. Um, that being said, I'm gonna go with the Grizz next. We know Jaren Jackson, Desmond Bain. I was really impressed how Desmond Bane, the last time the Warriors played the Grizzlies, Bane was attacking the glass. And he was getting layups. And I had always just thought of Bane kind of just strictly as this one-dimensional shooter. So I maybe need to change my opinion of Desmond Bane because he was getting to the rim and finishing. Desmond Bane's a really good player. Who else they
He's a
got
great
over there?
player.
They added Luke Kennard, and they needed another shooter. Like that was a big acquisition for him because it's like Jaws, this rim protector. Bane can shoot it, but outside of Bane, they felt like they needed another shooter. So Kennard was a good
Yeah,
pickup. Steven Adams, I know he's injured. I don't know when he's due to be back, but I've always been a big Steven Adams fan.
I've been a big Steven Adams fan ever since he was on OKC. When he was at Pitt, like I thought he was just great.
Oh
He looked
yeah,
like
Brian. Oh yeah, Brian. Well, I've been a fan of Steven Adams when he played against Nerlens Noel in high school. I
in
remember watching
Tilton
Nerlens Noel
Tilton
high
High
school
School,
tape.
right?
Gosh, I don't remember the name, but I was watching Nerlens Noel tape because he was like the top prospect, and there was a game he's going up against like this tall, I thought he was white, but he turns out, he's from New Zealand. He's going up against Steven Adams, and I didn't know it was Steven Adams, but I'm like, dude, this guy who Nerlens Noel is playing is really good. Turns
Yeah,
out it
no.
was Steven Adams, and that's what really opened my eyes to Adams. So me and you, we're on the same page. We both really like Steven Adams. The Grizzlies, that's who I got checking in at 4. What do you got?
So John Moran actually played last night. He scored 17 points. He was 0 for 2 from 3, but he's not a great three-point shooter. But
Yeah.
he came off the bench. He played 24 minutes. And your
Okay.
guy, Desmond Bane, played 35 minutes, scored 20 points. He was efficient, 6 for 13 from the field. Maybe not from three-pointer, 3 for 8. But honestly, I'm not a big Grizzlies guy when it comes to Dylan Brooks. Like, yeah, John Morant's great.
Can't stand Dylan Brooks.
But the thing about Grizzlies is I think they're lacking in defense, especially on the perimeter. I think John Morant, when he's on the perimeter, he's kind of like Jordan Poole. He's a turnstile. He really is. Like, you can beat him one-on-one. And I honestly just don't think John Morant cares about defense. I really don't. And with Brandon Clark being out for the season, that hurts
It's a
them.
big blow.
Steven
I really
Adams,
like Brandon Clark.
he was great in the playoffs. He really was. He was efficient. Steven Adams being out, we don't know when he's coming back. Jaren Jackson, he's in the defensive player of the year category right now, but he's been kind of iffy. I think Draymond Green locks him up if they play, but I really don't. I'm not a big Memphis guy. I really think they're too inexperienced. I might get a lot of flack for this. I am. If they get healthy, I know PG had the big injury. I don't know when he's coming back, but I really just think the Clippers, man, when Kawhi Leonard is playing and he's focused, and I know he gets a lot of
Kawhi's
flack.
different, dude. Kawhi is
Of,
different, man.
I just have this thought running through my mind that when they play Toronto in the finals, Kawhi Leonard just took over that series, and I don't know. I'm just whenever I see him in the playoffs, I'm scared of him. Like I just think
No, I know,
think he's a
dude. How
different animal.
lethal is Kawhi Leonard? Like in the mid range, there was hands in his face in that finals. It did not matter, even from 3-point range, Brian. Like Kawhi Leonard, I did not think he was a sniper from distance. The dude's a sniper. Like he can flat out. Like that's something that I don't think he came into the NBA with that shot, but he's developed this 3-point shot and this mid-range game that is just insane. Like it's insanely good.
I remember watching him at San Diego State, and I was thinking, wow, he's improved so much as a player. Like it's been crazy. Like you said,
Yeah.
the 3-point shot. He didn't have this 3-point shot. He didn't have this triple package at San Diego State. And look at him now. And everybody wants to talk about, oh, the Warriors have that championship experience, that championship pedigree. Who had championship pedigree before the Warriors? It was Kawhi Leonard with the Spurs. Like he's got the championship pedigree from San Antonio, and it scares me. I don't want to see them in the playoffs if everyone's healthy. Hopefully, knock on wood. Hopefully PG's healthy and he's all good. But if the Clippers are in the playoffs, I don't want to see them. They're my number 4 in
Wow,
the West.
that's good. That's good. Yeah. Okay, so we disagreed there. I went with Memphis. You went with the Clippers. And okay, for my 15, hey, you know what? I gotta do it. Hey, NorCal is in the
Light the beam, baby.
bloodline. I gotta look
Light the
up.
beam, baby. Light the beam. I know.
Like the beam. I'm going with
Light the beam, baby.
Sacktown. Now I'm a little bit obviously I'm lower on it than maybe I don't know, maybe the consensus. I mean, you look at the standings and they're
They're
tied.
third, right?
They're third. Excuse me, they're third. So I got them a bit lower than where the standings would have them. But Domtanis Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk that dude. He's kind of showed up what I thought he was going to be coming out of Kentucky, this scorer, kind of sixth man role. Malik Monk's really good. Kevin Herter's not going to hurt you. You got Harrison Barnes, who's just this glue guy. So, yeah, although the Clippers and the Kings were the teams I was kind of waffling on, but I got to give the edge to the NorCal team, in part because of the PG injury, and also not to pile on PG, but I feel like ever since he kind of left the Pacers, like during the playoffs, like he kind of disappears, in my opinion. Like I remember when Paul George was with Indiana, he was big time in the playoffs, playoff P, and then ever since then, it's like he just disappears. I don't know. So something about the Clippers, I'm not quite buying in as good as Kawhi is. So I'm going Kings number 5.
Well, I think everybody with Paul George, I think everybody has that lasting impression of him in the bubble clanking the 3 off the side of the backboard. It's like, yeah, you ain't playoff
dude. In the All-Star game, Brian, I was watching the All-Star game. Paul George is getting all these wide open looks, and he was just clanking all game. And I'm like, yeah, I know it's an All-Star game, but these are wide open threes.
Yeah, but you know what? He's scary when healthy.
He is. No, he's a really good player. I like Paul George. California kid, and my favorite player growing up, Brian, Paul George. My favorite. Excuse me, not Paul George. Tracy McGrady, and Paul George kind of reminds me of that. Kind of, that 6'8", has that handle, that ability to pull up. Because I always like those kind of lengthy wings with that size and just that athleticism and that skill set. So Tracy McGrady was my guy growing up, because the Warriors, we didn't have the players that I wanted to go out and get that jersey, right? Like I'm not getting the Troy Murphy jersey or a Bobby Sura. I mean, Jameson had his moments, but it's like I had to look elsewhere. And T-Mac, that was my guy. Too bad Orlando wasted my boy T-Mac's prime. So I had this argument with one of my buddies. He's like, T-Mac wasn't all that. I was like, dude, who did the Magic get for him? Like, who did they pair him up with? Pat Garrity? Like, Mike Miller was like his number 2. Like, they gave him nobody, and then they teamed him up with Yao. But by that time, Yao being 7'6" was kind of slowing down. And then my boy T-Mac started having the back issues. That's probably why Jeff Van Gundy went so bald. Just all that Houston team. I had a lot of hopes for that Houston Rockets team, but it didn't happen. And I don't know. I don't know how I got off on the T-Mac tangent. That's my boy. Anyway,
we're talking about the 19 and 56 Warriors, right? Or the 17 and 56 Warriors. Yeah. I guess you weren't a big fan of Vontico Cummings back then either.
No Vontigo, no Cherokee Parks. Beadrins was my boy.
No Al Harrington, I guess.
Dampier had, Dampier was solid. Danny Fortson, he could grab some boards. I liked Fortson on the rebounds. But anyway, who you got 5th, B?
We're going off on a tangent. Just to recap, I think I had Denver 1, I had Phoenix, if healthy, 2, with full squad Phoenix.
Yeah,
Golden State 3, full squad. Golden State. This is all if healthy. Like, if healthy. If not, scratch all of this. But you got to be healthy.
Exactly.
4, like the Clippers. 5, I got to like the beam, baby. I gotta like the beam. I know they're young. I
Yeah.
know they're inexperienced, but I love what they're doing up there. I love Mike Brown bringing that intensity.
Yeah.
Like the Sacramento Kings in my era, like I'm talking to a Kings buddy of mine, he's like, "Oh, we're a joke." I'm thinking, you were a joke. Now you're not. You got formidable players who can actually play the game of basketball, who know how to play, who really do. You got guys like De'Aaron Fox, Demonte Sabonis, Harrison Barnes, Herder. You guys, you guys have guys who know how to play the game of basketball the right way. And I just love the passion and energy that Mike Brown brings every single day. And it's the story of the NBA. It really has been. And I'm rooting for them, but that's who I have upset. I have them five because I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. They're just young, they're inexperienced, and young, inexperienced teams who play horrific defense in the NBA playoffs don't last. When's the last young, inexperienced team who played horrific defense made it past the guy who is? Did somebody say I'm whispering? Sorry, man. Sorry, I'm whispering. I know. It's late here. I
Hey,
don't
he's
want
a
to wake up the
family
parents.
man, Tommy.
I'm a
He's got
family
he's
man.
got
I can't
babies
wake up the
sleeping
kids.
next to him, Tommy.
I
So
can't
hey,
wake up the kids, brother.
it
Sorry,
wouldn't
Tom.
it wouldn't be a show if you didn't have that one comment kind of poking you. Like Tom, that's what Tommy does. Shout out to
Yeah.
Tommy. He likes
My
to
bad,
give me a
Tommy.
hard
My bad.
time. He likes to give my guests a hard time. Uh,
My bad.
especially he likes to beat me up for loving Zach Wilson. I was a big Zach Wilson like table pounder. Zach Wilson's going to be a stud. That's what I was saying. So Tommy reminds me of that. It wouldn't be a show if you didn't have someone kind of razzing you in the comments. So
No, but
that's
I
what
did.
Tommy's doing.
Hopefully, I'm not whispering now. I'm trying to talk in my normal voice, but all I said was the Kings. They're young, they're inexperienced, and they play horrible defense. Like they're atrocious. They're almost as bad as the Warriors. And
Wow.
when's the last time you saw a team make a deep run who's young, inexperienced, and play horrible defense in the playoffs? Oh wait,
Yeah. Yeah.
they don't.
It's yeah. I
Let,
don't got
let,
nothing
let
for
me
you there.
let me be realistic. If the Warriors and Kings meet in the playoffs, and the Kings say the Kings are third seed, the Warriors finish at sixth, right? Or somehow Phoenix tried to get them. I don't think they'll be able to make it, honestly. So realistically, Warriors at three, or Kings at three, Warriors at six. How do you think that series is going?
Warriors in 6, I'm gonna say. I like the Warriors in 6. I just think with the pedigree, with the experience, I'm not scared of the Kings. Actually, I think that would be a good matchup for the Warriors. That should be something they're kind of pulling for, as opposed to I think like Memphis could give them a more challenging series. The Clippers, if
Yeah.
that works out, I think would be more challenging than the Kings. Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about this, and I want this series to happen. I want the I-80 series to happen because we've never had this before. Kings and
No.
Warriors have been, one team's been bad, one team's been great, one team's been
Yeah.
great, one team's been bad. We've never seen this before. I want to see it as a fan. It'd be great television. It'd be great ratings, especially on the West Coast. But if healthy, I truly believe it's a gentleman's sweep. I really do. I think the Kings get one game. I think the
Yeah.
Kings get what, game three in Sacramento, maybe game four. But I just don't see the Kings going back to the being inexperienced, being young, and just being horrific on off or defense. You can be great on offense. You can score 130, but if you give up 135, you're not going to beat anybody, especially in the playoffs. Same goes with the Warriors. So I just think Warriors in five. I really do. I hope it happens. I really do. I want to see it. I
Me
know I've been
too. It'd be
rambling.
good because, like you said, we've never seen it before, so that would be
No,
great.
yeah,
That'd be great.
I know
And
I've been
then
rambling, and you want to get away probably, and it's like you probably got stuff to do. But I really appreciate you having me on, man. It was fun.
no, not at all, not at all. We're about to wrap it up here, and I'm glad that I was able to get you on. Shout out to No Border Sports stopping by at the end. Yo, Crypto, thanks for stopping by. my boy, No Border Sports, he's been putting out a lot of content too. So make sure you check him out. He's been grinding. I see you grinding, Ryan. So keep up the hard work. And hey, Bryan, it was a blast having you on. Uh, ball, just like I knew you did coming in. So we're gonna wrap it up here, but I want you to plug, whatever you got to. First of all, follow Bryan on Twitter, which is a really good follow on Twitter. So if you want to shout that out, and yeah, well, absolutely.
No, I appreciate it. And you know what? Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate you. And, you put out great content. And,
Thank you.
sometimes it's hard to get a platform out and stuff and get your thoughts out and opinions out. But I really value your knowledge of the game because sometimes you're like, oh, you're just a fan. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, no, you actually dive into the numbers and you look beyond just the stats.
I'll
And
try.
it's great content. No, you do great stuff and do great work. But like I said before, you can follow me at B_Eglesia on Twitter. You can also find me posting stuff on The Warriors Talk at The Warriors Talk on Twitter. We post Warriors content daily, and just follow the show. And hopefully, I'll be able to do more stuff like this with you. And hopefully, you put in a good word for me with Kruger. I'll text him if I have a chance and stuff. But I know he's big time, and I would love to come on and talk more 49ers, Warriors, Giants, Bears sports with you. It was great.
Hey, Bryan, had a blast. Absolutely. I'm a brag to Kruger and Cy. Like, hey, dude, I had Bryan on, and we had a whole show. It
Yeah,
was phenomenal. I'll send him the link. Hey,
hopefully.
Bryan, thanks for coming on. Had a blast talking ball. It's going to be fun watching this stretch run for the Warriors and seeing how the 49ers kind of wrap up this offseason.
Yeah,
So, absolutely. We're
I'm
going to be
excited.
talking soon.
I'm excited. You on a Krug show tomorrow?
Probably. That tends to happen day of. Krug will shoot me a
It's a
text. Hey, you ready to hop on? And
it's a
so,
big
but
game tomorrow.
more than likely, it's who the Warriors playing tomorrow. Do you know? Let me
Philadelphia.
pull it up. Oh, that's
They got
right. That
they
is a
got the
big
Sixers
game.
at home, baby.
Big Joel Embiid's
Philadelphia's
coming to town. Yeah, that's a good one.
maybe maybe not. Maybe not. So
Oh, is he
apparently
banged up?
after the game in Chicago, he had like something wrong. I want to say it was an injury, maybe a wrist injury. And Doc Rivers after the post game was like, "Hey, he's gonna play on Friday. Like he's gonna be good." Now there's speculation of not so fast. Maybe he's not gonna play. So I think him and James Harden aren't gonna play, or they're questionable. So whatever
That
that
could be
means.
big
But
in a tight Western Conference where all these teams are all compacted. That could be big. Hey, Bryan, thanks for coming on,
my
and
man,
we're gonna talk soon. All right, everyone in the
yeah,
chat, thank you guys for stopping by. Chat was live, so shout out to all of you, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
appreciate you having me on.